Good morning. Good frickin' morning. Top of the morning to ya, laddie. Top of the morning to you, laddie. Hey. Dude, I feel like Tyler, the Creator, in the beginning of the Goblin album, said, who doesn't have ADD? I am immensely grateful. You see, I always want to come on here, and my particular preference when it comes to my own style of making things, I like making Kifflom. I like making Kifflom things. That's to say, I like making things that are aesthetically pleasing and minimalistic and have some kind of aura of angelicism. You know, they reach into you and they're like, oh my God, wow, that feels divine. That makes me feel like I gotta hit a Jesus gesture for the one time. You know what I'm saying? For the Father, for the Son, for the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? You gotta hit something, otherworldly. You gotta hit something celestial. And so, I always, and to make something like that, it's a fluke, almost. It's so... if every one of these happened to be just a blank page, then that means that, it's like a 1 in a million. Probably less. It's like 1 in 100. 1 in 50. 1 in 25. My rates get a little bit better as time goes on, I think. I think I'm just kind of working, at the operating system at the sort of level that I should be, the kind of thing that you don't force. You don't force the work to come out of you. It should never really be work. It should be a kind of expelling. It should build up, and it's like pooping in a way. It builds up into you until it's ready to come out, man, and then you're just there for that. And so that's my obsession. I'm not going to say it's my addiction, but that's something that I do love, and that is a preference of mine, making something Kifflom. And that's a word, that's a term that I'm colloquially throwing in here. Kifflom is a term I'm taking from Grand Theft Auto 5. Kifflom, that goddamn cult. The baby blue cult. You go to the first time you ever die in Grand Theft Auto 5 online, there's a cutscene. It only happens the first time your online character dies. It'll take you up to heaven in the cutscene, and you meet this Star Trek, suit wearing dude who sounds like he's off of like the Brady Bunch or something like that. He just sounds like a character from the times of Scooby-Doo, those early day cartoons or whatever. And he's wearing this baby blue, little baby light blue space jumpsuit. And the color, how, they have Tiffany blue, and then you picture like the Diamond Company blue, that sort of very bright aqua teal. Tiffany blue. Kifflom blue is that powder light blue. Kifflom blue. And so Kifflom and Grand Theft Auto, if you go onto the internet and Grand Theft Auto 5 was like, dude, that was basically my religion from 13 to 18, 13 to 19. Not even kidding. something else that I've learned, like one of the biggest peaks, is anything can be religious. You know, if there's a universe for something to inhabit, and that universe has grimoire, that universe has lore, that universe has characters, that universe has stories, that universe has, you know, all these various plot points at which you can anchor and put, you know, tie ropes and, you know, do your red string analysis from one thing to another. You can draw sort of perspectives between things. It's all religious. You know, it's all stories. It's all where you see yourself in a story. It's all, don't be Jimmy DeSanto, you know? As long as you're not Judas. As long as you're not Jimmy DeSanta, we're good. Oh, dude, don't be such a Trevor. Don't be such a Ron, bro. What are you doing? You're such a Ron. I'm sorry. Right now I'm being a real Michael. I really need to get into my Franklin, you know? Got to get in my Franklin frame. You see what I mean? You know, so if there's characters, there's stories and whatnot, you know, you can tell it's all about it's all about storytelling using the stories that these characters and these people already lived through. And so if you're within the story, or you have knowledge of the story, you have understanding of the people, you can speak in a shorthand. And that's what anything in the entire world can be. It's all vernacular, you know? It's all jargon. It's all insider knowledge. Insider, outsider knowledge. Who's in the know and who's not. Kifflom Blue. Grand Theft Auto 5 is kind of crazy, bro. They have a whole internet system on that hoe. Like, you can go and find websites. You know, Grand Theft Auto Rockstar created websites in that video game. Anywho, I was going to talk about the Kifflom one. The Kifflom one, you head on to it, and it tells you you're not chosen enough. You know, we didn't choose you. You know, come back later if you're ever chosen. And it plays this, like, high-class, upper echelon elevator music. I implore you to go and look this up. I doubt there's a YouTube video about it, but, you know, if there is, then there is. Anyway, I mean, if you can find that, you get an AI. Go Google it, dude. I mean, it's not the most obscure thing in the entire universe. Anywho, you know, that's kind of more or less my desire. You know, that's where a source of my suffering comes from, if anything at all, right? Because as a creator, I want to, as someone who creates things, as someone who makes things, not even because I said I would, not even because I decided to, but because I feel this compulsion to make things, create things, leave things behind, make my mark on things, customize things, make things unique, XYZ, you know, etc., etc. I like making things beautiful and simplistic. And to do that, I mean, you have to make a whole bunch of ugly shit in the process. Or just things that are out of your style. You know? I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of art and a whole bunch of chaos that isn't necessarily my style. And then I find that one thing. I find those two things, those three things, those four things that just happen to be more or less what I do like, and then I find what is the through hole between all of those things. What is it that ties all of these things that I particularly like all together? What is that? So I'm beating a dead horse at this point. You already know what it is. And so I come on here to break I come on here to break the illusion. Something super, and to do this, I need to actually do the reps of it. And what it is there's times where I feel stagnant, I feel stuck. And then, I think to myself, how much is it that I'm stuck, or I have a writer's block or a creative block or something like that. And I think, what is the reason, what is the purpose for the creative block? Is it because I am blocked, or is it because the thing that I have to move that is in my way, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, is just, it's like an ego thing. It's that, it's the great way is not difficult for those that have no preferences. And so if I come out here and I have a particular kind of preference of who it is, what kind of Dawson do I want to be today? Then I'll find myself like trudging. I'll find myself in a position where things move really slowly, where things move very precariously. Planning this, planning that, planning future. Finding dissatisfaction in the present moment. I think the more and more I have the ability to really pull myself into the moment and think to myself, dude, if not for this moment, nothing. I might be able to live my life in the kind of way that a lot of us look to live their lives like. And so I hate that I come on here and I always want to make something Kifflom, I always want to make something clean. I always want to make something beautiful, divine and minimalistic. I want it to have, as few jagged edges as possible, unless that was the sort of creative route that I was taking that particular moment. I don't want it to be all everywhere, just all these just a bundle of wires. I don't necessarily want the things that I talk about to end up being like the verbal version of like that kitchen drawer where you just throw all the shit into. It's like everyone's got that junk drawer in their kitchen, dude. What goes in there? Everything. Your rubber bands, pencils, various adhesives, tapes, old keychains, lip balm, glue, scissors, batteries, both old and powered. Tacks, thumbtacks, thumb warmers. You know, that's to say that when I make a talk, I sincerely always kind of hope that it ends up being something like useful, something wise, right? I want something like, I want something exceptional to come out. Which we can actually reverse engineer right here, right? So if I wanted to make something wise, if I wanted to spew something wisdomous into the world, that would mean that I was coming at this moment right here from a place of experience and understanding of a particular predicament, right? Which would mean I'm coming at this moment from a place of experience, and that I understand the source of a problem and the answer to it. Which means that I'm trying to reverse engineer the solution to somebody's problem, and this person can't necessarily be somebody random. This has to be somebody very particular in mind, and this has to be somebody who is like me, who has the same sort of problems that I have, or that I might have. What kind of problems might that person be having in this moment that they need a light source put on? Or they might even just like a light source put on it. But if they're anything like me, they'll look around in the fucking dark. They don't give a shit. It's not even about finding. Dude, something I know about me, it's not even about the finding of the item. If I'm looking in the dark, it's not about, I don't need a light to go find that thing. It's about the search, okay? I'll search in the dark. I'll search in the light. I'll search by myself. I'll search by myself until somebody chooses to help me, you know? I don't care, dude. I'm there for the frickin' moment, okay? I don't care if it's dark or light. That's something about me. So, you know, how would you help that guy? You know, honestly, I don't know. I think I'd be a little. Honestly, strangely enough, I think I'd be a little scared of that guy. It's super weird too. This is a weird perspective, right? Because in my imagination, I am that guy who's like looking in the grass, in the dark or the light. He's just looking for something. He dropped maybe an AirPod or whatever. And I'm also the dude that's like 50 feet away that's looking at him, you know, watching him look for something. And for whatever reason, I don't want to go anywhere near that guy, who is me, who is looking for something on the ground, necessarily. which has led me to a strange impasse. Why am I afraid of myself? Dude, you know, I'm becoming more brave because I'm getting rid of my vices. You know, as I get older, I get rid of my vices. And I thought that would truly fix me. And maybe in time it really will, and I just have yet to, you know, really put enough experience points. You know, there has yet to be enough time between the letting go of the vices and just the, you know, and the growing from that point. But I always felt like, you know, with the vices, you know, a part of the fear, the anxiety, the worry, the stress, it came from like the urge, the addiction, the sort of the needing, the wanting, the compulsion. It came from that, and then it also came from like the repression of that. So if I would ever feel the need to go hit my smoke, you know, to go get my smoke on, to get my smoke in, but I felt like I needed to be like, you know, more of a professional version of myself. And then it would have been frowned upon. It would have been I would have been ostracized and publicly shamed for it. You know, now that I've let these things go, and I don't even feel that sort of urge or that pull or anymore, I don't know where I don't know where I was going with this. I feel like Harry Potter and the Golden Snitch, bitch. I was just chasing some shit, and it just disappeared on me. You know, I think I'm just dealing with a lot of residual kind of fear. Like, you know, because I had those vices, I always kind of knew that I had like a window in a way. Like, in a way, I only had so much time. It was like I was breathing underwater. Right? At some point, I would have to come up for air. You know, I'd have to go and leave the space to go and handle that. And now that I don't have those vices anymore that pull me away from a moment, they pull me away from another person. You know, I recognize that I'm scared of like a face that comes behind a peekaboo or something like that. Like, huh? You know, every time I've watched TV show, I've become so accustomed to watching TV shows and that there's commercial breaks in between, you know. There's advertisements between the whole show that when they just play the show, you know, ad-free, I don't even know what to do with myself at this point, you know? That's what I'm talking about. What a weird predicament, huh? What a weird-ass predicament. Okay, so what do you do, right? What do you do? What do you do about that? Honestly, you know, what I recognize is you literally do absolutely nothing about it. You know, but what you don't do is dude, there's literally a time and place for everything. So, you know, you think you can like gamify everything down to like some kind of like Dexter code in which to live your life by. It's like time is finite. When you realize that time is finite, and you know, a man lives 2 lives. The second one starts the moment he realizes he only has one. You know, the type of shit that's like, you only have so much time, okay? So go and do what you gotta do. You know, there is this kind of mentality, you know, it's adjacent to MGTOW, you know, men going their own way. It's adjacent to Red Pill. It's adjacent to, like, hustle and grind culture. And all of these cultures, you know, I'd say that they're adjacent to the existential crisis cultures and the neurotic cultures and the anxious cultures, you know. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because there is something truly beautiful about life. You know, you become a real bastard, bro. You become a real bastard if you ever become like cringy enlightened. If you're ever cringy enlightened. But to be truly enlightened is to know yourself, right? There is this kind of thing, you know, amongst various people. They say, you know, you should meditate. You should meditate. You know, people like transcendental meditation. And hey, you know what? If it works for you, it fucking works for you. You know, everything at some point or another is medicinal. Right? Everything can be medicinal. And you know, if it comes in an effective dose, it can be medicinal. You know, if it's ever too much or too little, hey, you know, we got some things to balance out. You know, the thing that I've recognized about meditation for me is it is medicinal. It's not dietary, right? I do it when I need to, but it's not something that is sustenance for me. You know, it probably is something that I do every day, but it's not something that I devote, you know, massive amounts of time to. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, a big significant place of focus when it comes to meditation is to be mindful, to be sort of focused on the returning of. You know, a lot of people when they meditate, they say, you know, be mindful of your thoughts. You know, when your thoughts go off and you start thinking other things, think to yourself in that moment, thinking. Or you note your thinking. You say, okay, I notice I'm thinking. Noted, thinking. Okay, back to the breath. And it's like the point of that whole thing is to quiet their mind. You know, is to cease the mind from doing mind chatter business. Is to say, shh, to the child inside of the mind. You know, dude, we're at church right now. Shut the fuck up. God damn it. We're supposed to be praising the Lord here. And you're running amok, man. You're making me look like a bad parent. God damn you. I'm sorry, child. You've just been traumatized. A lot of meditation, a lot of people that talk about meditation, they sort of prioritize the returning, the emptiness, the silence. Shh, mind, shh. And that's them. That's them. I'm always about customization. I'm always about making things uniquely your own. One of one for everything. If you like it, it's gotta be yours and it's gotta be your own, okay? If there's ever like some kind of YouTube tutorial out there where someone who's into astrology will talk about the 12 signs. I think there's 12 signs, one for every month. Is that what it is? The Leo, the Sagittarius, the Libras, the Cancers, the Aries, these signs, and there will be a video out there. They'll be like, oh yes, the Aries is like this, and they're kind of spunky, and they like the scent. They smell of nutmeg and patchouli. They like the colors jade green and dusty brown. And when you see them, they have a sort of high fashion elven walk to them, where you can tell that they're not unconscious, that they are controlling their movement because they're piloting themselves actively in the world. And someone will have this kind of take on that, right? My whole thing is that if you ever see something like that in the world, someone else's viewpoint, someone else's like drawn out kind of like, map and key system to anything at all. I think these things are beautiful, and sometimes I find them interesting and kind of fun to look at, and even to adopt a little, tidbits and pieces of it to look out at the world from. But I always think to myself, that I want to make my own. I only ever want to make my own. This is a me problem. It's not even a problem. This is a me process. Right? So I'm the type of person that I can't really take advice from other people. And if I do, it gets filtered through a whole load of processes within me, to where that advice, it comes in one ear, it gets processed through my brain, sent through all my chakras, and then I'll sleep on it for a little bit, I'll let that kind of flush itself through my system a little bit before I even do anything with it. Because I'm enlightened. That's to say that I recognize. I recognize that anybody who points you in the direction of the thing they're pointing you to the sun. They're pointing you to the moon. They're pointing you to the nucleus. They're pointing you to the mitochondria. They're pointing you to the source. They're pointing you to the engine. They're pointing you to the piston that fires. They're pointing you to the Big Bang, okay? They're pointing you to the thing in which things come out of. And the point isn't to get trapped inside of the method that gets you there, you know? The point of the journey wasn't to... Dude, the point of the journey was not to stay on the gondola in which the zip line is attached to. The point was to take the gondola up, have the experience that you'd have on the gondola, and then get off, okay? The point of the experience was to get on, you know, to get your goddamn skis on, get your snowboard on, you know, your preference, right? And then you get on the ski slope, the thing that takes you up. And when you're up there, eventually you get off. So you can go and do the things that you would do as a Freemason, you know, a goddamn freelance agent up there. Now, sure, you can challenge the game at large, and you can think to yourself, oh yeah, somebody said that the point of this whole thing was to get on the ride and then eventually get off the ride? Ha! Yeah? What if I was contrarian and I challenged the whole shit? What if I just stayed on the ski slope and I rode it on the way down too? And I just stayed on this thing. And the whole point of my game was to challenge the whole everything. My whole point was to challenge everything. People thought the whole point was to get on, enjoy the ride, and get off at the top. Fuck you. Now I'm gonna make you think, ho. I'm gonna get on this thing. I'm gonna stay on it, and I'm gonna stay on it until it's uncomfortable for everybody. Until we're all asking what I'm doing. What are you doing? I don't know. I think I was seeking attention in a strange way. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was apprehensive. I think I was a little hesitant. You know, I think I was a little unsure. At the very least, I think I was very unsure if I wanted to get off at the top. And so I just went around a few times just to make sure. Just to be really sure it is what I wanted to do, you know? Okay, to each his own. And that's the point at which some people will diversify. I'm not ball swinging alpha male, you know, hyper testosterone, just fucking never listen to other people, never be following, always be leading. I don't like that. I don't think that's good. And I think that's a huge limiting factor. I think anybody who needs to be the line leader in everything that they do, for everything, I think we gotta step back at that point. Step back, reassess. I do think that I'm pointing at something, though. Like a realm of ideas and concepts. That, you know, when it comes to your life and living your life, I think that I fall very much under the sort of like belief system that everybody pilots their own life. Everybody more or less should pilot their own life. I think that some people get tricked into... I don't even know how to word this. I mean, I think that there's some people out there who live their life under like a sort of cookie cutter thing. There are some people out there that are kind of looking for rules in which to live their life by. And then there's other people who make those rules. There's other people who create those rules. And the thing that I recognize about the people who create the rules is because I am one of those people, okay? I am one of those people who tries to make rules for life. The suckiest thing about that is that it ends up being this kind of... Look, okay? it's dangerous. It's dangerous because for as sincere of a thing as it is, it's not an OSHA approved structure. Right? I mean, what I'm trying to say is I have made my own sort of Jordan B. Peterson 12 rules for life. I've over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I have made millions of rules for life at this point. How many rules of life, how many of the rules of life, how many of the millions of rules for life that at each impasse, I believed them to be true and believed them to be the best of operating systems and believed them to be the best of the best. Hash it out, hit it with a hammer. It's infallible. It's impenetrable. It's the iron bull that can withstand any mosquito. It's the quintessence. It's the way to live your life by. It is proven. It is the sort of thing that takes you to heaven. It is it's the thing. How many of these millions of rules for life that I have created, I have left behind? Millions. Almost all of them. So there's people out there who look for various DAOs in the world. They look for various trench holes. They look for various trenches to live their life by, so they're not out there in no man's land, just waiting to get headshot by someone out there in the middle of the field in some kind of war zone that exists in their mind, in their imagination. Life is spiny, life is pokey, life is this, and life is hard, and life is rough, and life is abrasive, and life is sandpaper, and life is to be defended against, and you should have a sword, and you should know how to use it. God damn it! Life is this. I need principles and values to live my life by. I don't know what they are. Are there some that are out there that I can just use, like commoner's goods? And then there are people that make those rules. There are people who are in the predicament of needing, of searching, of wanting and they craft these things. They're bespoke. They're niche, collectible objects in the metaphysical world, made of thoughts, made of language, made of ideas. There's never a time where I'm not doing this kind of thing in some way or another. And it all has to do with the various viewpoints you'll take to like look at life at. Like, how do you want to look at life is a question that gets thrown into that soup. You know, I think to myself all the time, dude, if I could just be as I was when I was like 21, 22, I had the kind of impact on the world like fucking the happy puppies do. I was always so happy to see people. People would always come, a big source of comments that I'd get from people was like, oh my God, you're so happy. How are you so happy? And weirdly enough, I remember I wasn't happy. I remember I just looked very happy. Which is really strange. It's really strange to, like, you kind of think, I always kind of feel like people know what it is that I'm feeling. Just because they can see my face, or they can see my body language, that they have the sort of emotional intelligence and, like, spiritual, energetic awareness, intelligence to pinpoint with accuracy what it is that I am feeling because of this particular signature, this particular display that I have, that they have the wherewithal to sort of translate that with accuracy. Lo and behold, almost never. Almost zero. It's very close to 0% of all the experiences I've had before where somebody has been able to. I've always been more shocked than anything. I've always been a little more surprised than anything. Someone will come up to me and they'll say, oh, you look annoyed. Oh, you look happy. Oh, you look stressed out. Oh, you look... like you're in your own world. And, no matter what it is, that gets back to me, it's always something other than what I feel in that moment, which is a strange sort of moment for me. Because in a way, it's like a paradigm shift. Or it has the potential to be. It's always like, well, that means that something fundamentally in me is operating off of something else. I'm living my life sort of with the kind of blind faith that people understand what it is that I'm going through. I'm sort of living my life with this kind of blind faith that people understand me. That we're living in the same, I'm putting my faith in the understanding of the other person, like, entirely. And I don't want to change that view. I don't want to change that view. I think that's a pretty good view. To me, that's like, I put my faith in the abilities of another person, that they are smart, that they are intelligent, that they are understanding, that they are knowledgeable, and if they see kind of raw material or an ingredient or a resource, they'll know what to do with it. I don't have to tell them they shouldn't put onions in. They shouldn't mix waffles and onions. That they shouldn't eat their food on the toilet, that they shouldn't, do things of that nature. Like, just trusting that they know already. It's just a little weird that all the people closest to me, or the people that get close to me, whenever we get to a certain level of closeness, to where they feel comfortable enough to, like, talk to me casually, they always tell me something like that. I don't get you very much. Or they'll kind of just throw out like a little, like if we're playing like Battleship or whatever, they're like, hey, are you over at F4? I'm like, dude, I'm not even close, bro. I'm practically off the map. Nope, cold. Colder. Okay, warmer. Here's a hint. Anyways, that whole thing about 12 rules for life, I'm taking steps, I'm taking steps towards Christianity right now. I'm taking steps towards the Bible, the 10 Commandments, Moses' freaking, when he stepped off that Sermon on the Mount, came down with some stone tablets, rules for life right there. I almost want to go in and, like, blasphemously, go and touch upon those and hit those with a hammer too. Because I think to myself, hey, okay, there was a guy out there who was doing the same thing that I'm doing. He's like thinking about life in this kind of way that's like, fuck, dude, I keep running into various problems or whatever. If they're not physical problems, once I've gotten over all my physical problems, now I'm running into kind of like emotional problems. Okay, I've handled all those physical and emotional problems. All right, now I'm sort of dealing with, oh God, mental sludge kind of problems. Okay, now that I've dealt with these, now it's on to psychological problems. How after I've got these fixed, it's on to spiritual problems. Okay, now that I've gotten through, the sort of spiritual problems, now it's about societal problems. Problems between, interdependent relationships, relationships between between people. It's relational problems, societal problems, communal problems. Now I'm on to the level of this, and it's just, I've devised, all these sorts of remedies and different recipes for, antidotes for the ailment, if you will. And that they are not, the recipe to these things is like cooking in real life. Okay? I do eyeball measurements, all right? I do measurements by time and tempo and feel and, and just repetitiousness. If I've made this one time, I might need a recipe. Right, I might need to measure it out. If I do it 2 times, I might do that again. If I do it 3 times, now I've got a sort of sense with my eyes. I've got a sort of sense with my feel. I've got a sort of sense with my muscle memory. How long I was pouring. At which speed I was pouring. At which, now I've got a sort of, how much how much versus this thing versus that. I'm sort of getting this kind of experience together. And then, by the 12th time, maybe I've got a little bit more faith under my belt that I don't need the training wheels anymore. And I could just do this by hand. I could do it by feel. I could do it by ear. I could do it by sight. I could do it by any means necessary, my man. I just have a better understanding of the ratios, right? Oh, okay, so if I'm making a big portion this time, I'll do this much. If I'm making a little one, because I'm not going to go out and I just don't need as much energy, then I'll just do a little bit. As a person who crafts these kind of commandments, these various sort of plot points and signs, road signs, maps, to sort of orient myself spatially in a world that is metaphysical, it is spiritual, it is mental, emotional. It's a dance between all these various places in the imagination versus something as concrete and real as waking consciousness, and concrete as it is to express and bridge the gap between understanding, when you're talking about ideas, struggles, various points at which you can connect with another person, where you can't really get super esoteric and weird, because then you just lose the fabric of everything, and nobody understands where you're at. Ooh, dude, here's a tidbit of golden goodness that I heard the other day that I just want to throw out there. I just want to throw this down here, kind of like the S that you'd make in high school, that cool looking S. This is just like a piece of verbal graffiti I'm putting down here in this voice memo. I'm carving this into the desk, that cool looking S right now. I'm carving into the desk, Dawson was here, into the desk right here of this voice memo. This is something, cool. I just found it cool. Look down on me, and you'll see a fool. Look up at me, and you'll see a god. Look straight at me, and you'll see yourself. That's it. I just thought that was really cool. I just thought that was a really cool little tidbit of just a fun little thing. I like thinking of those as metaphysical play objects. Because that's the kind of thought that if you think about it, if you think about that actively as you're going about your day, doing whatever it is that you're doing, it has like a little pH shift. It has the ability to turn your pH balanced, or, you could become a little more acidic or basic. It's just to say that it can sway you to move one way or another. Usually these are the kinds of things that they'll bring you to a balanced kind of pH, where you once again rediscover who you are as you are. And I know that I'm a crazy, sort of more manic guy, more often than not. I understand that my base reality is one that weird things are happening all the time. I sort of have this kind of, I half low-key have this desire to just to wish that I was a James Bond, suavemente, just kind of smooth jazz caramel man, deeply, Barry White, right, man, can't get enough of you, girl, we just kind of like, saunter into the room, black and white spats on the feet, pinstripe, dark chocolate brown, black, freaking suit on, just this cool, calm, and collected character. I always kind of wish I was this dude that had it figured out, was chill, and just had this ultimate sort of like omnipotence, just a forever knowing. But alas, I mean, it's beautiful. I'm just a little more greasy than that. I'm a little more Jiffy Lube mechanic than that. I'm a little more down and dirty than that. I'm a little more, I could ride my bike with no handlebars than that. Because the truest of the true, the most quintessential truth that I have is always that I need to break it down to my own bedrock. I have to always go down to my baseline. And my baseline, what I know, if I knew anything at all, what I know is that life is change, okay? Life is this sort of constant change. It's electrical, it's magnetic, cool, it's magnetism. It's, various things will pop into your attention, various things will sort of flicker in your awareness of what you notice. There's all sorts of things just kind of, you ever see that magical orb that has the electric, kind of firing out into the edges of the orb from the inside? It's that, dude. It's that freaking thing. And we are that thing. We're all those little connection points and all those little left and right turns in space. We're that whole sort of object as it flashes and flitters and flutters and strobes in this strange kind of, oscillating kind of way, a randomized, prime numbers, you cannot track it kind of pattern. We move in this kind of way. And so I know that at my base reality, it is this kind of changing forever. And sometimes it's a little faster, and the changes are just always happening, Dance Dance Revolution style. And sometimes it's a little slower. It's a little bit more like the kind of change that the Grand Canyon and the river that eroded that thing goes through. And it was a long process over a long period of time. And we'll sort of flow into these different spaces in the world where all of these changes are a-changing. And so that is all of that, right? Okay, so what the fuck what is happening right now? What is happening right now? I'm hoping that out of that, what that whole thing was, what this whole thing is, still is. That was all the sort of sedimentary. That was all the sediment that you would find in a riverbed, right? That was dirt. There were flakes of gold in there. There maybe a garnet or a ruby, perhaps an Apache tear. Hopefully there was a goddamn Apache tear in there, or some quartz, right? Quartz or an Apache tear, dude. The Apache tear. Coolest freaking rock ever. It's a black opaque crystal. It's a smoky crystal. And if you look at it, it's black. You can't see through it. If you put it up to the light, though, oh, you can see through it. It's cool. It's cool. It's like a tinted window. It's epic. Pretty epic. And so hopefully there was an Apache tear in there. Or maybe an opal. Or, whatever your favorite colored stone is. But whatever all of that was all just sediment in a riverbed. And so, if you, fuck, dude, right? So if that was a river, dude, so fucking hell. So if you're someone that doesn't like the water, then I guess, bygones will be bygones, and well, they're probably already gone, right? They're probably already gone. They saw the sediment. They're like, oh, this is sediment. I'm out of here. I'm more of a environment. I'm more of an air pollution kind of guy. I like cleaning the air, cleaning the pollutants in the air. So I'm gonna go and do that and plant trees or whatever. Sorry. Right. So if that was sediment, I suppose I'm looking for my 49ers, I'm looking for my dudes that go into the rivers with their little pans, those little sifters, they go in, they collect all the sediment and they shake it out, and they're just looking for like things of value. Doing little comb-overs and pass-throughs to find little things of value. This is for you. This is for you. And so me, I'm nothing more than a four-leaf clover. I'm nothing more than I'm nothing more than, just a little blade of grass out here. Just a little, I'm just looking, I'm a little blade of grass, I hope some dog with a stomachache comes over and he eats me. And, because dogs like to eat grass when their stomach starts hurting. Apparently grass has some kind of, like Pepto-Bismol effect on a little doggy tummy. So hopefully I can be the Pepto-Bismol to a little doggy tummy. That would be nice. That would be a good life. That would be a good impact. Right? But then again, that's all out of everything. Okay? That is out of my hands entirely. I'm living my life in this very moment of things. In the blown out state. I'm living in the blown out state right now. I was just caught in a whole sort of rabbit hole where I think to myself, hey, what is the impact of everything that I just made and everything that I'm making on somebody who listens to this in the future? What is the kind of impact that it has on them then? Meanwhile, it's like, how would I even be able to, how would I be able to want anything for that person when I don't even know what it is that I want for me now? Right? I don't. So can you put your brain power into that one? Yes. Okay. I could put my brain power into that one. And to do that, we're going to make something really interesting right here, okay? We're going to do something new, okay? We're going to do something novel. And so if you're willing to stay with me, if you're willing to ride with me for a little while to see what's on the other side of this, then we're going to break through into some new shit. And that'll be, at the very least, that'll be interesting. And so I know what it is that I'm about to go do. All I ask of you is for 3 minutes of your time. And so just like how we were talking about the sort of like commercial breakages between things, I got to go to the bathroom. I'm going to go refill my cup of coffee, and I'm going to put the slightest smidgen of milk in it. And then I'm going to come back to you. So I imagine there's going to be about 2 minutes, 3 minutes of just empty space. And so if you're down for it, I'm down for it. And so without further ado, let's just rip right into it. I'm going to go pee. I'm going to go get some coffee. And I'm going to leave you here while I do that. I'm back, buddy. I do have some things for you. Right? So first, let me just preface this with, this is all for me, okay? Selfishly, this is all for me. I make these talks for the me of the present moment to open up and vent, to get things off their chest, to maybe clarify things in their present moment, to get their head straight, to kind of get their directive in life oriented, recalibrated, and properly, honed in. I do this for this version of me, right? Simultaneously, I hope to help, and I hope to help, a sort of parallel version of me, a person who is going through the sort of whatever, I hope to be the sort of light that their newly hatched turtle version of themselves sees as the light, and hopefully they could just go in that direction until eventually they can see and start making their own decisions. I hope to be that too. I also make this for a future version of me who perhaps is in that sort of rehatching predicament, okay? We go through these sort of spirals. And one day I'm going to find myself in the same kind of place where I'm needing the sort of, if I'm ever at a place of understanding, hopefully I'm at that place currently, and there might just be that version of me who is out there looking through the sediment, and hopefully whatever it is that is inside of all of this sediment, they find the thing of value. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Okay, so with these things out of the way, here is the stuff, right? My MO is to simply come at my life in the kind of way that is like the teacher from Whiplash. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't necessarily choose. This kind of life didn't choose me. I didn't choose this. This is just how I happened to come out as, okay? And I didn't reject it. I take the perspective where I hone in and I look at my own life and see, hey, where is it that we are fucking up? So how awesome is it that, dude, the things that were ailing me, my ailments before, I got through those, boom. I was like, yeah, dude, nicotine's fucking my life. Dude, weed is fucking up my life. Dude, drugs are fucking up my life, dude. Boom. Got sober, bitch. I fucking quit nicotine. I thought I could never do that shit. I thought I'd die with that goddamn vape in my hand. I swear to God, dude, I thought that at my deathbed, not even kidding, I thought that I would live until I was balding and had gray hair and was old and wrinkly, and I thought to myself, if I'm ever dying in a hospital bed, in one of those rooms surrounded by my family, that like there would come a point in time where my physical body just no longer could do anything, and I'd be like, vape, pass the vape. I swear to God, I thought that my imagination thought that to be a reality. Anyways, I quit nicotine. It's been 2 weeks. I've been strong as fuck. My thoughts on that? My thoughts on that, here are my thoughts on that. I am an addict. Through and through. No doubt. Dude, I've seen it in every aspect of my life. I get addicted. I get addicted to exercise. I get addicted to good things, healthy things, bad things, ugly things. Doesn't matter. I get addicted to all of them. Addicted to weightlifting, addicted to cardio, addicted to exercise, addicted to working out, addicted to buying shoes, addicted to shopping, addicted to getting tattoos, addicted to eating healthy foods, addicted to you name it. You name it, goddammit. You name it. I addict to things really fast. And so I think about this sort of moment in time where if there's ever a future moment where someone's like, hey, bro, you want a hit? And then I think to myself, I imagine myself in the moment, I've got years of not smoking nicotine under my belt or whatever like that. And then it no longer has even a negative kind of hold on me. To the point where if there's ever a vape and I can allow myself for the one time to hit that shit like there's no tomorrow. Fuck yeah, I'll hit it for the one time. I imagine that moment. And I think to myself two things. I think to myself, holy hell, oh yeah, I could totally do that. I'll eventually have the sort of power where I could just do it one time and that'll be great. Simultaneously, I also have the sort of thought that's like, don't you dare. Don't you dare, god damn it. Don't you even take one fucking step in that goddamn direction again. And I'm more inclined to listen to that one, right? I'm more inclined to listen to that one because of my experience, right? I have gone down that loop-de-loop spiral so many times before where I'll put a decent amount of time between me and the thing, and then eventually I'll think to myself, why? One wouldn't hurt. And then it becomes, one doesn't just stay. One is never just one. One is hardly ever just one. It's hard to ever only do one thing, okay? Very hard. Can you listen to just one song before you turn the music off, right? Can you do something? Can you stop the ice machine before it spits out 2 ice cubes? It's very hard to get one thing, okay? And so I don't even want to fucking test it. Dude, I've got 2 weeks of vapelessness under my belt at this point in time, and I do not want to go back ever. And the thing is, I feel very strongly about it. I feel like the addiction at this point is simply just about mental wherewithal. In my mind, I've made the distinction. Fuck the whole emotional thing. Fuck all the emotional baggage about it. Fuck all the logistical things about it. It's all, here are all the reasons it's bad for you. Here are the 0 reasons that it's good for you, besides maybe that it makes you feel good for one instant. And then after that, there's all the shame, the embarrassment, the darkness, the impending sort of cancers, and all these sort of bad things. In my mind, I have already committed. I have already said, yep, I'm done with this. And so it's just very easy. It's almost like it's said and done at this point. My name is already written across that dotted line. Battery's fully charged. There's the page is already turned. So it's not the same kind of thing that I have to recommit to. I've said my vows, and I haven't turned my back on my vows. And so at this point, it's about walking through the fucking door, going, get out of the revolving door. Why are you? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so that's that. Next on the list is, I thought of something when I plopped you off here for that moment when I went to go take a whiz and get some coffee back in my cup. And that is, I think about, what are we truly doing this for? Right? If I want to have a 10-minute blast off, I can have a 10-minute blast off. If I just want to talk for 10 minutes and have whatever comes out in that 10 minutes be what that'll be for the person who only wants to listen to a 10-minute video, that's for them. Then that's for them. And then I think about, well, what about the person who wants to listen to a 2-hour video? What do we get from that? What do we discover in the 2-hour video? What I discover in the 2-hour video is there are breakthroughs. There are breakthroughs that are to be made. When you go about the 2-hour video, you operate from within a structure that you have made. You operate from within a structure that is a limiting factor from the beginning. You say that you're going to sit there for that goddamn podcast and you're going to do it for 2 hours. And then you think to yourself, any moment that you feel the sort of, where you feel stuck, where you feel like you can't walk around or go do some other stuff or do that thing that is calling you in your mind, you want to reapply yourself to your initial bet was placed. You placed your bet in wherever you placed your bet in the beginning. And you failed to take into account that little tidbit of knowledge in the prompt that life is this sort of constant change. And that you better find what it is that you want to do. And that many times over, dude, the only thing that, the things that contribute to our perpetuating sort of suffering is it has to do with the perceptions that we want to, get from other people. All the while, we're forgetting about ourselves. We're forgetting about who we are, what we like, what we are like. I don't know why we're doing, if I were to have a 30-minute blast off, if I were to have a 10-minute blast off, where it's just the most dynamic, just the wisest of thoughts, right? If I were to have a 10-minute blast off where somehow I think that I can have this sort of Kifflom thing that I was talking about, I can have that quintessential, just angelic, beautiful idea presented in the most minimalistic, just most clear-cut, clarity-providing way, then, that's what I aspire to make. That's what I would love to make. But I also recognize that in the middle of that, I become really disillusioned. That in that moment of things, I'm not even making things for the person who is the sort of reflective, placid lake of a person. Right? I don't know how possible it is to make something for somebody who is a sort of chaotic, turbulent, rippled water reflection, right? I don't know what you can do for the person who is tailgating you behind you on the highway, on the road, besides just get the fuck out of their way, right? And so if my intention is to sort of make something for that person, they're probably already gone, right? They're probably already gone. And so that leaves me with the kind of impression that if I'm making something right here in this moment for somebody, they're probably not I don't know what they're looking for. Maybe they probably don't even know what they're looking for. Maybe they're probably just there for the experience, for the experience of it, just to see what the hell is going on. And that's, they don't care. They don't care per se what is going on. They're going to take what's nutritious and they're going to use it in that way, and they're going to let whatever else is happening, they're going to let that be. They don't discriminate. Sometimes I wish I could make all these kind of talks, these long-form talks, and somehow push out the energy or the impression that I never hurt, and that hopefully when I make these things, I never hurt during them, right? I never feel pain and, the kind of just existential emotional pain in the middle of that. And if I do, hopefully you never feel that. Sometimes I want to just get into a mode where I'm feeling like I'm having fun. I'm throwing out all my memes. I'm throwing out all the sort of, musical lyrics that'll come to me in the heat of the moment of things. And I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself, and I'm being rather unique or what have you. And then there's other times where I'm like, forget about that, dude. I mean, like, dude, we have to come to some kind of base reality, we have to come back to, like, base principles of, well, what is the most true, and what does it feel like to be you, And how much of life are we missing just based off of what we think is, like, the right perspective to take on it? Right? I've got, like, I'll be honest with you, I've got something I'll call, like, sad boy complex, bro, where I'm sort of addicted to, like, melancholy. Not even gonna lie to you. I like the image in I like whatever happens in my imagination as just this person who walks around in life through a crowded place, and they're not looking at person to person. Dude, I like walking around in this sort of, like, seeing the bigger picture, just feeling like a blood cell in a super big organism. I like not paying attention to each of the various blood cells per se, but like, you know, where is everybody going? You know, what is happening inside the superstructure? I like looking at life like that sometimes, and you know, sometimes I feel like I look a lot sadder than I actually feel. Like I feel like some kind of like misfit outcast, kind of lonely, I don't know, pretty boy sad guy, something like that. And then sometimes I'll break through the other side of that into some kind of like look at me now. Look at me. I'm awake. It's like utter craziness. You know, I feel like getting off of this talk here a little bit. Something that I have learned and been using in practice in recent times is that anytime I feel my life is ever at some kind of impasse, that the answer to life is to simply break through. It's to simply, take your life and look at it through the eyes of raw action. What is it? Oh, your life doesn't feel great. Oh, your life is feeling stagnant. Hey, what is the one movement that you can make that kind of brings your life back into, the place where you feel like you're doing it right, at the very least. Oftentimes, that's my take on things. My take on things is that I feel very much like we will feel like running away. We will always kind of feel this kind of like, I want to flee. I want to get out of here. I want to we'll feel like magnets, and we won't feel like magnets who are attracted to each other, but we'll feel like magnets that are not attracted to each other. But we also feel kind of bad about that, right? I think that's like, that's a big part. It's a significant part. It's a significant percentage of the source of human suffering, is that we will feel this kind of repulsion from each other, but we are civilized to death. And that we will resist our own sort of intrinsic intuition to back out of situations, to pull away from situations, to turn our back on situations, because we think to ourselves, good people don't do that. Good people always say hello. Good people always wave. Good people always say, how are you? Good people always say, it was nice to meet you. Good people always say, I had fun. It was a good time. I hope to see you again. I love you. I hope you're happy. Goodbye. People always say these things. People always do things like that. And it's like, I think to the extent that we can, we can hold on tightly, let go lightly. We can take the middle way of things. We can be slow, and we can be okay, and we can be... I think to the extent that we can trust upon the decisions that we make and the actions that we take, that will be okay. There is a lot of friction that'll occur when you're holding on to something, or you're leaning into something that you should have leaned away from. And you'll do that because you feel forced, at the level of, at the societal level, to do this thing, to do it like this, that, you're going against something at the core of you. And if you do that time and time again, you'll live a life of low level suffering. Just like a light suffering. Seasoning your food. I think that it's nice in times like this to think about life in terms of namaste. Really, treat others how you'd want to be treated. Because in life, you're a pattern for the world. And if you devote your energy to showing that part of you who, just Lil Wayne, man, how to love, trying to get together, how to love, yeah. Then I think that you can find it. I think that I know that love comes in many different kinds of forms and shapes. And the one that I'm talking about is the kind of love that is indirect. It's an indirect kind of love. It says, I love you so much that I'm not going to call upon you to perform for me. Okay? I see you out there. I see you coming closer. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to pay attention to these things. So that way, when you notice me, you're not going to feel the compulsion to perform, okay? You don't need to do that one. I'm at the part where it's indirect, but it's heart to heart still. I think to myself, well, I don't want to go out there and, feel obligated. I never want to feel obligated to play the game arbitrarily, to do it just to do it. And if I feel like that, I see through the fog of it. I try and see through the fog of it. That if I feel like that, there's got to be someone else that feels like that. And that everything that I do it's always sending Morse code to this person. And this person is always changing. This person, but regardless of who this person is changing into, they're always, I'm always sending Morse codes to the person beyond the mirror. I felt like ending this a little bit ago. But I think I've gotten into something. I think I've gotten to a pretty deep vein of something right here. Because I've ran into something about my own particularities. I've made thousands of hours of... Which information are you looking for? I've made thousands of hours of just talking. Philosophizing. Gamifying. Theorizing. Chatting it up. Shooting the shit. Having fun. Doing things a little more arduous. Kneading the dough. Watering the plants. Thousands and thousands of hours. And it's always for somebody. And I don't think, but me, right? There's a me I never listen to. How can there be somebody in the world who would need, how would there be somebody in the world who would make it this far into something? An hour and 50 minutes into something. Because I can only see the world through things like that I would find use in. Right? I mean, I don't think I would listen to something for 2 hours. If I were, I think I'd be forcing it, or that I would just be in a new spot entirely, truly. And so I just find it hard to imagine, right? Because I'm always trying to make something that would be helpful for me, that would sort of expedite my own processes. But right now I'm needing something new from the world. I'm needing something new from the universe. I'm needing something new from me, from my experience. And, right now, I think that it would be a drive, to be honest with you. I don't know. I saw in my mind's eye, like, me just going over to, like, the beach area and driving over, by those nice homes with the winding roads and just, like, the obscure sort of non-cookie cutter homes, just those designer homes and, something like that. And then thinking, but maybe it would be cool if I got up and I started swinging the freaking club like I was Leonardo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Aang the Avatar, or something like that. Or, maybe if I did the rest of that, painting, what if I did the marks on the painting that I want to freaking do? And if I put the insignias on those, or if I did the weights, if I started doing all these things. And that I find my heart hurts when it comes to things like that. A little bit. Because I'm still going through. I'm proud. First of all, I just want to say I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm talking to me right now. I'm proud of you. Okay? You did the damn near impossible. Okay? You have you've crawled out of fucking hell, man. You climbed out from the mouth, from the gritty abyss. Cold turkey got yourself out of drugs, out of the drug life. How'd you do it? Did you need a 12-step program? Did you need a whole AA? No, I made my own goddamn philosophy. I got my own. I pulled myself up from my bootstraps. I changed the laws of physics and the laws of the universe to fucking meld around so I can utterly break and do the impossible. They say, you can't cold turkey it. You can't do it alone. Well, guess what, ho? Did all that shit. Don't listen to other people. Fuck those other people. Those people that tell you what you can't do. They tell you, how it can't be done. This and that. Don't listen to these fucking people and their own limiting beliefs, bro. You gotta seriously fucking drop every single one of those people out of your life, even if they're close to you, bro. I swear to God. All of them. Agent Smiths. Mr. Anderson. Promise you, they'll tell you how the world should be, could be, would be, who'd be, blah, 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 how it's done, how it works best, the numbers this, the this, that. Fucking listen to none of them. None of them. And, it'll come a point in time where you can, don't even listen to your heroes. All right? I mean, my personal heroes, David Cho. Personal heroes, Jesus Christ. Personal heroes, the Buddha. Personal heroes, Ram Dass. Personal heroes, Duncan Trussell. Personal heroes, Alan Watts. Anybody else? David Goggins is cool. Anybody else? Louis C.K. I'm sorry to say that one because of the jerking off thing, but I mean, whatever. Fuck it. Louis C.K. God damn it, Louis. What the fuck? Louis C.K., You're still there. You're still there. You're still there. Whatever, you know? Can't make something Kifflom, bro. Everything, you know, you can drive around, you know, park your car in the parking lot. There's still going to be, you know, you're going to get scuffs and scratches, and it's going to develop its own personal patina. You know, people are going to just run into your car. Fucking can't be perfect. So, Louis C.K., you're on there. Fuck it. You know, yeah. So, you're heroes, right? You're heroes. There's going to come a Tyler, the Creator. Logic, you know, Bobby Hall, you know, Rainn Wilson, and then, you know, just, you know, heroes that you know in real life, not just from the digital sphere. Any of them and all of them. You know, as much as it hurts in this weird way, you use them as momentum. You use them as something fixed in place that you take your bungee gum, Hisoka skill, and you just fucking slingshot yourself amongst the stars using those celestial, you know, figures out there. And you sling yourself along. And you keep going. Right, so yeah, I'm proud of you. You did what was damn near impossible. You know, I didn't even believe in you completely. I didn't even believe in myself, bro. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't know what the right way was anyways. But we got it done, man. We got it fucking done. We got it done. Oh, we got it done. We did it. So, I mean, you've made immaculate, incredible changes in your life in so many realms of what it is to change your life and have an impact on it. And so for all these things, kudos to you. They say having power over others. Having powers over others is strength. Having power over yourself is, I don't know, skill. Knowing others is knowledge. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. I don't actually remember. This is in the Tao Te Ching, obviously remember, but I don't remember what. I don't actually remember the actual sequence of words that it is. I don't even remember what this was supposed to like tie into, what this was supposed to lead into. Yeah. Yeah. The last hurdle that you break through is always yourself. Right? You become truly free. And I mean truly and utterly free when you break through and finally crack your own ego. When you have the ability to, because you've seen through it all. I mean, you don't get this ability by willing it into existence. You don't get this by wishing for it. It comes as a last ditch effort. It comes as a last result. It's your own. I mean, it's dying, right? Everything dies. What is it? I don't know if it's ego death, if it's just ego dissolution, everything comes to a point of it's tried everything to fucking wiggle and weasel out of it in every way that it can to somehow take all these sort of perspectives that bolster you and put you up here and just, try and to take away the sort of judgments that there will be and all the sort of perceptual try and get you away from all the points in which pain can reach you. Just sort of hide you away, tuck you in the nooks and the crannies, and just make sure you don't get snatched by that fucking cretin, that creature out there that's gonna hurt you. After all of the sort of attempts to play keep away with you on these things, eventually there becomes a kind of surrender or a letting go, because no matter what position you're in, there's always one where there's a pain. There's always an anguish that comes from. So when you finally, everything that you've ever known has a sort of aperture at which the pain will shine through from. Eventually, because that's all you give up on even trying to escape the pain. That you take pain and you take the suffering and you take that as a fundamental law of human existence. That you've tried every method, all of the methods, and you've tried them every freaking time, all of the ways that you've done every combination, or so you think. And so, you just, because you've reached that point of knowledge through experience, that you've developed some wisdom from that knowledge, that you've derived a sense of understanding from all of these pieces, that eventually, the final step in all of that is breaking through your own standard, breaking through your own sense of judgment, breaking through your own sort of sense of perfectionism. You think to yourself in this moment of things, oh my God, this whole time I wanted to escape the judgments of others. I wanted other people to think of me as this good thing, this great thing, this wonderful thing, this splendid thing. I wanted them to think of me. I wanted them to look up at me and see a God. I wanted people to look straight out at me and see themselves. God damn it. I wanted those people who looked down on me and saw me as a fool. I wanted them to eventually see me as themselves and see how they've been hurting themselves. I wanted them, the people who looked down on me and thought of me as a fool, to at one moment looked up at me and seen a God, just seen somebody who has broken through and done something they've never done. Oh, damn. That J. Cole song? Oh, damn. Holy shit. I seen the way that he did it, and he did it like I've never seen anybody ever do it before. And bam. I don't remember what song that is, but I'm going to find it because I want to listen to that. Oh, dude, that guy, he did it, and he did it in a way that I always wanted to do it. And The final step is to always break through your own sense of judgment, your own sense of judgmental perceptions. And so if you have the ability to break through and, disappoint yourself, or even just kind of throw your own standards to the wind, god damn it, then you're truly free, okay? Then you have the ability to just make things as you make things, and it doesn't matter to you because you're not looking back on what it is that you've made. You're not looking for the validation or the praise that you made something good. You're always just moving into the current moment of things. You're always moving forward into the future in some kind of way, like, oh man. And you're tailoring things specifically for the present moment of things, and not for some kind of an idealistic version of how things should be. Because that's how it is, when you watch the movies, man. You watch the movies, you see the lovely bits, bro. You see the lovely bits with the the way that the ladies and the guys interact, and you want that for your real life self, but bro. It's always a clashing. It's always some kind of contemporary battle between how life is in actuality versus, how you wish it to be. And when you finally hit it with it, just at the right whatever, when you finally get that image, you always want to somehow maintain it. And that is the plight of man, okay? The plight of man is that there's nothing that you can do. There's literally nothing that you can do. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you, but there is literally nothing that you can do about it, right? You come to the point where you finally are living with the perception that you want to have. And then there comes a point where you think to yourself, okay, yeah, I want to maintain it. I'd like for this to live. I'd like for it to be as such. I'd like it for it to be like this. And then you also see that if you hold on to it, it'll escape you fast. If you let go of it, what the fuck happens to it at that point? Does nothing happen? Do you not even feel it that? And just falling. Constantly falling. Falling through. I'm gonna do some other things besides making a voice memo now. I'm going to exercise my body a little bit more, and then, do some other stuff, okay? I'm gonna be loose and light with it, and I'm gonna trust that what I wanted to remember before is going to come back to me, and I'm going to handle all the things that it is I wanted to handle, and I'm going to partake in all the things that I enjoy partaking in, and I'm not going to force life to come at me in a certain way, and I'm going to live it, I'm going to love it, and I'm going to laugh, and I'm going to... Okay. I'm no good at goodbyes.